Rob Zombie's The Munsters is here. Should you watch it? Or should you run away and bury your head in the sand and never watch another film again? Hey everybody, welcome back to Nightmare Collective. I'm Chris. Thanks for stopping by and watching my review for The Munsters. Now this just hit Netflix this morning and I watched it, and then I wanted to claw my eyes from my skull. I have never been
so bored in my entire life.
I thought I was watching a Christmas Hallmark movie, which I might add has better acting than this movie. When Sherry Moon Zombie is one of the better actresses in your movie and you have Elvira in your movie, the bar is low. I mean, like, here's the low bar. We are at, like, pre-tied, and I'm below that. This shit was garbage. 5% of this movie was good. A whole 5% of this movie was good. And I'll get into that. Let's get into some positives before. Daniel Roebuck as the Count and Grandpa, he was great. He knew what movie he was in. He knew what he was signed up for. I think if the movie had encapsulated his same tone, and I'm sure many other reviewers are gonna like second the sentiment that he is the best part, and if Rob could have taken that tone and spread it across this movie, it might have worked. I still don't know that I would have liked the movie objectively, but it would have worked better than what we got here. Which, I mean, none of it works. There's not even really a story in this movie. It's just scenes. It just feels like scenes. Scene after scene after scene after scene. Someone gave him money and he had no idea what to do with it. Somebody was like, hey, you know what would be a good idea if Rob Zombie did The Munsters? He's weird and quirky, and so is that show from the 60s. And Universal's like, hey, we failed at an attempt to bring all of that stuff back before, so what the fuck? Let's let him do it, you know? People like Rob Zombie, right? I mean, he kind of ruined most of Halloween, but, you know, I like some of the stuff in H2. Some of it, you know? So let's get into this before. I don't want to come across as like I don't like Rob Zombie. Rob Zombie is fine. His music is fine. I'm not a huge fan. And his movies, while sometimes are okay, I mean, they're so hit and miss. And the biggest thing in his movies, as again, this sentiment will be, you know, expounded upon multiple times throughout multiple people's reviews, is that he cannot write a movie. He needs to stop writing movies. So, dear Mr. Zombie, just stop. Just stop writing. Nobody wants you to write. Nobody. Nobody. Even Sherry. She won't tell you. She doesn't want you to write any more movies because they suck. You need to stop doing that shit, or you're not going to be able to make any more movies unless you come out with like Dragula 2 or something. I know you can keep touring, but my plea to you is to either get somebody to help you write your movies or stop making movies. So just stop making fucking movies because they're bad. 31 was bad. From Hell was bad. 3 from Hell was not great. And the last thing you made that was even semi-decent, while I do like some of the stuff that was in H2 and some stuff that was in Halloween that wasn't your property, so you didn't create, you know, Michael Myers, so you had some stuff going in. Like, House of a Thousand Corpses is the last thing you made, and Devil's Rejects is fine, that you made that was pretty good. That I felt like, okay, maybe this is going somewhere. I'm not a huge gore fanatic, so it wasn't like, oh my God, these are the greatest movies ever. And I know there's going to be people that love Rob Zombie, but I don't even think you're going to like this movie. I don't know who this is for, because the original show was like kids and adults, but mainly kids, and this doesn't work on that level. It bored me as an adult. I was on my Steam Deck the whole time playing games while I was watching this, and I kept going is this ever going to end? Is this movie ever going to end? And it finally did. But Jesus, did this movie need to be almost 2 hours long? 2 hours? Rob, what were we thinking? I heard there was a cut that was 2.5 hours long. Now, I have said some things about Terrifier 2 being 2.5 hours long, and I have my reservations about that movie being 2.5 hours long, but we did definitely not need a Munsters movie that was 2 hours long, especially as there's no story whatsoever in this movie. Except for, the only story is that, hey, you know, Lily needs to marry somebody, so she goes on a date with Nosferatu. That doesn't work out so well, because he's a dead vampire, you know, and he's scary, and he lives in a hole, and then he rave dances Like when he gets to his house, it's all very confusing. It's a blur, man. It's literally just scenes. Rob Zombie was like, hey, let's just make a bunch of scenes. I don't know how to put together a movie. I would say this is his most like incomprehensible movie. I mean, it's like it's all laid out. None of it's good, and there is no plot. At least like 31 has a plot. It's not a good plot, but it has one. You know, Three from Hell, like, kind of has a plot. It's kind of the third movie in that series with the other two. So it's like there's some stuff that we had before that we could pull from. But this, literally, other than Lily being like awestruck over Herman Munster, there is nothing going on. This is kind of like a prequel to the series, but there is continuity issues with that if you wanted to take this and then directly watch the series. It doesn't fold in nicely. So if you wanted to do that, you could have done that, but he didn't do that well either. So the only, like I said, there's like 5% of this movie that's good. The costume design is impeccable. Some of the way that it's directed is pretty good. Rob Zombie is not a bad director. He is just a bad writer. He needs somebody to write for him, and then he can direct it and add his style into it. He needs a script to come to him that he likes, and he needs to adapt that with his style and his direction. Because some of the stuff is cool. Like we start out with that like cemetery scene that we got in the first actual trailer. It's not as cheesy as that, which is good. And I think the movie overall is slightly better than what the trailer kind of gave us, even though it was like a representation of what the movie is. I think some of it does fit in once you see the pieces put together. But overall, I still did enjoy the movie. I was bored to tears. So like I was saying, like, I don't know who this is for. Kids are not going to watch this, especially kids now. I mean, I wouldn't have watched this as a kid. This is boring as shit. I mean, literally, like I'm saying, imagine sticking your child, who's like 4 or 5, in front of the TV for this movie. What are they going to get? It's not funny. It's not clever. Yes, it's brightly colored. But other than that, I don't think it's that, impressive to watch the film. So I don't know who this is for. That's my biggest question coming out of this review is, who is this for? Other than Rob. Rob made this movie for himself, which, hey, I respect that shit. I respect the hustle. You do what you do. But I don't know how this is helping your career at all. I mean, maybe you don't give a shit. Maybe Rob Zombie doesn't give a shit about any of that stuff. And I know he really doesn't care. He's kind of a dude that's like, fuck it. It's either my way or the highway. I'm going to make whatever I want. And like I said, some people really dig that. Some people like his style. Some people like the gratuitous violence and the vulgarity of his movies. I've never been one for that. But hey, to each their own. There's somebody out there. That's you, Steve, Rob, Stacy, Susie. One of you likes, Rob Zombie. So keep on doing that. You're allowed to like all the other Rob Zombie. I'm not saying you're not allowed to like the Munsters. I just want to know why you like the Munsters. So if you do like this movie for some reason, if there's somebody out there who watches this that likes this movie, please go down below and you let me know what about this, was good for you. What about it? Objectively, I just want to know. I'm curious. I'm curious to talk to another human being who has seen this movie and be like, what about this works on any level? Like I said, other than the costume design, which is great, and some of the sets, which are pretty good, what works? Because I don't know. I've been trying to figure it out all day. I mean, we're pushing like 3:30 where I'm at, and I watched this at 7 o'clock this morning, and I've just been thinking like, what is to review here? Objectively, other than not a very good movie. It doesn't look like a movie in any way. It looks like a bad soap opera. It's not a good TV, like, even movie. So what part of this am I supposed to be reviewing? That's what I'm trying to get at. What am I reviewing? He knew it was bad. They knew it was bad, so they sold it to Netflix, who apparently will buy anything. I mean, we've known that for a while, but this just really cements the fact that Netflix will buy any piece of garbage that is thrown at them. All right, let's bring it down. Let's calm down some, because I feel like my blood pressure is rising and I'm already doped up on Sudafed because I've had a damn sinus infection for the last week and a half. I'm trying to get over that, and I'm just watching this going like, I would rather have more sinus infection than watch this. This is giving me a headache. Breathe, everybody breathe. Zen moment. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down. I know this has been all over the place, and I'm sorry. These are typically not how my reviews go. I feel like I'm more controlled and less angry. But the worst sin you can make in a movie is to have it be boring. It's the worst thing. I love bad movies. I love bad movies. When a studio like Universal put out The Mummy with Tom Cruise and that shit was a trash fire, greatest thing I've ever watched on screen. I love the downfall of a big budget studio that thinks they've got it made and they're like, look, we're going to build this universe, and you're not. And it was shit. That's fun to watch sometimes. This, however, is not. And it's just like you're watching it and it's painful to watch. A good bad movie is not painful to watch because you're laughing with the movie because of like what is bad. There's nothing in here that is so bad that it's funny. It's not that type of movie. I don't think it could ever be that type of movie. It's just inherently a bad movie. So, like I've said, I don't think you should watch this movie. If you have some morbid curiosity, I mean, it's on Netflix. Watch it. I'm sure you've watched other bad movies, you know. The Gray Man. That's a high $200 million movie that's terrible because people think the Russo brothers can apparently make anything, which they can't. They're not that good. You know, when you're being directed by Kevin Feige to make your thing, of course you're going to be pretty good. The Winter Soldier's pretty good. Other than that, they can't make movies. Now we're going on a tangent about Netflix films and, you know, the downfall of society and humanity and the existence of all of us. But, you know, let's get back onto the review. It's bad. Don't watch it. I don't rate movies on this, but if I did, it'd be like a 2 out of 10. It bored me 2 out of 10 times. If I watched this, it would bore me a ton. No, what, it bored me 2 out of 10? No, it would bore me 10 out of 10, but this movie is a 2 out of 10. You know, I'm not going to start rating movies because I think it's, you know, I don't know, it's semantics. You like what you like. I like what I like. I'm just here to kind of give you my opinion on what I like. But, you know, if you want a review of this to put it in context, in comparison to maybe some other people, it's a 2. You know, it's bad. Like I said, I don't like any part of this. And you know what? I went in like that, and I usually don't have that mindset. I usually don't like to have the mindset of like, this X is going to be bad, or Y or Z is going to be bad. So I tend to avoid some trailers. You know, I watched the first one, I'm like, give me what you want me to take and like ratchet up my excitement level. John Campea says this sometimes, that like a trailer should take you from where you are and ratchet it up a notch or 2. And so the trailer ratcheted me down like 5 notches, and then watching the movie ratcheted me all the way down to 0. So I am going to now stop this review because I've just ranted for however long this video is, and I'm going to stop. Don't watch this movie. Don't watch this movie. I know that you're like thinking like, I should watch this movie, or you already have watched this movie and this is just justification that the movie's bad. Don't watch this movie. Stop it right now. Pitch your remote down, or your controller, or whatever you use to activate your television or your smartphone or your iPad or your computer. Stop it. Don't watch it. Just put it down. Watch something else. There's plenty to watch. Watch the new Dahmer series. That's pretty cool. I might talk about that on the channel. Me and my wife watched the first couple episodes of that last night. That's pretty cool. I like that. Evan Peters is dope. So like, watch that instead. There are better things to be watching this week. I mean, you know, I never thought I'd be like Hocus Pocus 2. That's going to be a masterpiece. But after this, damn, Smile and Hocus Pocus 2 look pretty good, right? I guess we'll find out later this week. But that's all I've got. I'm going to stop ranting. I'm going to stop talking about the Munsters. I don't want to talk about the Munsters anymore. I don't want to talk about it anymore. It's bad. It's not good. It's not a good time. It's not even fun to be mad about it anymore. So I'm going to stop it. I'm going to put this all on you, because now it's all in your brain. It's all in your gray matter up top, and you get to stew on it now. I'm done with it. I'm not going to talk about this movie anymore. So that's all I've got. You can check out some other reviews that I did. I recently did Pearl. I recently did Barbarian. Both good movies. So hopefully we can continue that trend later this week with our actual theatrical releases with Smile. I'm looking forward to that. I've heard, you know, some buzz. Maybe it's not as terrible as I thought that would be. So that would be exciting to go into that movie, which I have 0 expectations for, and it to turn out to be good. But check out those. I'll put a card up there. So check those out. Check out anything else I got. I just recently did another horror haul with my pickups from the last 2 months. So check that out if you're interested in 4K or physical media. And as always, don't forget, some doors should never be open.